This is episode 12 of Talk Magic to Me for May 28, 2014.
Welcome everybody to Talk Magic to Me, the critical Disney discussion podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Danielle.
I'm Jen!
And I'm Prince Eric.
You know, I was just thinking today at work, I don't know why I was thinking about it, but I thought of you, Eric, and how you're Prince Eric, and how neither Jen or I still, we don't have a nickname really. We're just Jen and Danielle.
Can't you just be Disney-rific Danielle?
Oh, I guess.
That's the only thing I can think of.
I want something, I'm going to think of one eventually, but I just thought of the fact that I feel like I'm desensitized to the fact that you always say Prince Eric. I don't even think of it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Prince Eric.
Yeah, that's a good nickname.
Exactly.
We don't have JD here to give us one of his nicknames.
No.
He always changes it every time.
I know, it's like the littlest thing. I never pick it up, but he does. So yeah, welcome to our episode, and welcome to our second episode of the Summer of Pixar.
Now unofficially in the summer, even though we're not officially in the summer because that's June 21st.
Right.
We are after Memorial Day, so we definitely have a summer episode here.
That's very true, actually. I never knew that people thought Memorial Day kicked off summer. I don't know why I didn't know that.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I just learned that a few days ago.
Yeah.
I thought about it.
I always thought that, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. So yes, today is May 28, 2014, and today we're going to be talking about Toy Story.
Yay!
Yay!
The very first...
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, this is the very first fully computer animated motion picture, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's Pixar's first, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Correct.
Pixar's first.
It's
like...
So, right, this movie really kicked off a lot of this different genre of film that had never really been seen before. The whole computer animated. So if everybody that can... If you can't remember the time period before this movie came out, just sort of think that no computer animation even exists, and then Toy Story comes out. Think of a world in your mind where nothing that done on computers, no computer animations, no, except for like digital effects, because I know that there were in Jurassic Park and things like that, but no full movie that was only that ever existed, and then Toy Story came out. That's what it was like when this movie came out. The giant cultural effect that this movie had on the industry and on Disney as a whole. Almost immediately when this movie came out, the characters, of course, Woody and Buzz were almost immediately iconic characters. Just like Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck, they were put right up there with that as soon as it came out. People had literal toys of them right away, and just they were automatically sort of pushed right in the front of everything, and had this very large following and very large culture effect when they first came out in a way that I haven't seen really since this movie. I can't think of a movie that's come out like this where the characters were immediately iconic like these were.
Frozen?
I haven't seen one. Frozen. Well, I don't think so. I don't think as much as I know what I think of that movie, but not. I don't think that they were immediately as iconic as Woody and Buzz Lightyear were.
At least in the same way.
In the same way, right. And keeping this in mind, that this was an era really before the internet. I mean, they had it, a very, very small portion of what would become the internet, but it wasn't widely used. Nobody really used it. It was extremely slow. There was no websites on it. There was no social media. Wouldn't be around for another 10 years. And to see that these characters got as popular as they did just spoke to the great writing of these characters in this story, and how it was something in a genre of movie that had never been seen before.
Right.
I remember this movie coming out I was 5 years old at the time, and it was this big, big deal when it came out. It was this huge, monumental deal because it was a movie and something that you had never seen before. It was a story, and just the way the characters interacted it was different. It was something you had never ever seen before. And Pixar's sort of what they've described, what they try to do is they try to have you look at the world in a different way. And this was the first time that we'd ever really been shown that. And it was something that was so different to anybody watching any movie that you had never really seen anything like that before. The fact that it was all these toys were characters, but they were such real characters, and they had such character to them. And they were all played by these famous actors and actresses that everybody knew of, but they were all together in this one setting that was so realistic and so relatable to everybody. It was really a tremendous thing to see, and a really big deal when it came out. So I that's what I thought of it. That's what I remember of it, being a little kid and first seeing this movie. I couldn't watch it enough times. I loved this movie. I loved the music in the movie. Everybody had their favorite different characters in it. I remember my favorite character being Rex, because I always never went for the most prominent character. I always wanted the fun sort of side character. That's who I always liked. So I always liked Timon and Pumbaa, and then I liked Rex was my favorite character in this movie for that same respect. And I remember everybody, all the kids loving the claw. Everybody loved us when we were in school. We all loved that, and everybody just loved this movie. I remember playing the Toy Story Activity Center on my old Apple computer, getting the movie on a VHS tape. I just remember everything about this movie, the big deal that it was, and just really the effect that it had on the culture and everything.
And that's a good way to introduce it, because it really did have a huge effect, and it definitely sounds like it had a huge effect on you. More so than I'd say me. I don't know about you, Jen.
It did, though, because my dad's favorite character in all of Disney is Buzz Lightyear. So, and for Christmas a few years ago, I bought him like a Buzz Lightyear fleece blanket so he can have it upstairs and for the couch and stuff. So, I mean, Toy Story is big in my house just from that aspect. And you know how much my dad loves Disney, and Toy Story's his favorite, so it's everywhere.
Aw.
And I mean, huh?
I was gonna ask, did you own it on VHS tape? Do you remember?
I did, yeah, I do have it. Like I think I mentioned before that my dad worked for Sun TV and fixed people's computers and VCRs and stuff. So if someone got a tape stuck, he'd fix it and get it out, but then he'd make a copy for me. So I think all the Toy Stories I have are copies of other people's tapes. But I still
very early
I still
edition
have
of
them all.
bootlegging.
That's really awesome.
But I think whenever Eric was going on, I think timeless would be the word. I think Toy Story might be one of the most timeless Disney movies, because it doesn't feel like it came out in 1995. It feels like it just came out. I can't believe I was 5 years old as well. And I mean, it doesn't feel that old. I feel like it just came out maybe 5 years ago.
Right.
10 maybe.
This is something I've been thinking about a lot recently, why it is that if you watch a movie or something from 2002 or 2003, or you watch a TV show from then, it doesn't look very long ago, if long ago at all. It could have come out yesterday, for all we know, when you watch it. And I think that the reason is, yet if you watch something from 1991 or 1992 that's from TV or a movie, it looks all retro and nostalgic and old. And so, if somebody says 2002, oh, that wasn't that long ago. If somebody says 1991 or 1992, somebody says, oh, wow, that was so long ago. Yeah, I remember it being, 2003, 2004, and if somebody said, oh, 1989, you'd think, wow, that was so long ago. But now, if somebody says 1999, people think that wasn't that long ago, even though it's the same gap of time that's passed. And I think, and what I've come up with is that, Jen, you're right, on the surface, it doesn't. If you watch Toy Story, it doesn't look like it's from that long ago. And I think it's because starting in the late 90s, all of the things that changed about society and about culture were no longer in the quality of TV. They weren't right when you watch something. It doesn't look any different, because that's not. It was throughout the 90s, from 92 to 98, TV really improved in quality. It really changed a lot. And by 1998, we almost, except for HD, things look the same way if you watch something from then as they do now. But something from 1992, even though that's only a 6-year gap, doesn't. And I think it's because in the late 90s, the internet is what started to progress more. So the TV stopped progressing as much, and we went to the internet and cell phones and social media and things like that are more subtle and that you can't see so rightfully, when you view something. So if you say like, 2002, that wasn't that long ago. Well, yeah, if you watch something recorded off of TV from 2002, it doesn't look all 90s and retro, you're right, and it doesn't look all fuzzy. But if you think of what the internet was in 2002, the fact that wireless internet wasn't really very big, the fact that everything was mostly on desktops and not many people had laptops, there was no social media at all. Everybody, for the most part, was still using it through the phone line, and cell phones weren't anywhere near what they are. They were cell phones, they weren't smartphones. People didn't use them probably 5% of the time as they do now, and it's just, if you think of it in that terms, it does seem like it was a long time ago. So I do agree that if you watch Toy Story, it is timeless, and it doesn't seem like a lot of time has passed for that reason.
Well, I think
I'm just gonna say, I'm sure something has to do with it also that the characters grew up with us as well. So that probably makes it feel like time kind of stood still with you, but yeah, you grew up and you didn't realize it, and they did too, and you didn't realize it.
That's the beauty of this movie and then the two after it, that we literally grew up with Andy.
Yeah.
It's great. And another thing is, I will say that I think the story is so timeless. I think, though, you can the animation holds up, but I think I personally could tell, because I also already watched A Bug's Life, and just watching Toy Story and then watching A Bug's Life, I already see an improvement in their animation.
Really? Oh,
so
wow.
I have a question about the story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was this idea original about toys coming to life in this way? They totally figured this out on their own? There was no book or pre-idea?
I think all Toy Story's ideas are original. I mean, not Toy Story, Pixar.
In 1988, there was a short.
Yeah,
1988, there was a short called The Tin Toy, which was told from a small toy's perspective, and so they sort of took it from that. Although I remember that, and I don't think there was any talking in it.
No,
and I don't think that it was I don't think it was done through computer animation. But having the told through a toy perspective in this type of realistic atmosphere in the bedroom where all the toys are characters and have these great personalities to them, I don't think that had been done before.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is our introduction to Toy Story. As you know, obviously it's a huge movie. We could never have a shorter introduction than what we just had, because really it does have a huge impact. And what you just said, Eric, was really important, that in from 1992 to 98, there were some really good quality movies and TV out in the 90s at that point.
Yeah.
And that's a whole discussion about the fact that when Harry Potter came out as a book, that's when kids started reading. But before that, kids weren't really reading because such good entertainment was on.
Yeah, I agree, and that's when we were kids, and that's why people our age always remember so many TV shows and cartoons,
right,
because there was such a high quality, and there were so many high quality cartoons that were produced in that time period.
Right. So yeah, now it's time for our This Day in Disney History segment. So today is May 28th, 2014. In 1953, Disney's first ever 3D cartoon is released in the U.S. and premieres at the Paramount Theater in Hollywood, California. And it is a short distributed by RKO titled Melody. So I didn't know they had 3D technology back then.
Me neither.
So that's cool. And I also looked it up. I think Lady and the Tramp was the last movie made with RKO.
Oh, okay.
Then in 1960... Disneyland's Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland opens in Frontierland. I wasn't sure if that had anything to do with the mine train opening now in Disney World.
I never heard of that they had a mine train.
Yeah, I didn't know what that is.
I don't know anything about Disneyland, really.
Yeah, I didn't know about it either, but that's all. And then this also the Art of Animation exhibit opens in Tomorrowland today, which also is reference to Disney World because they got that hotel now.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's a reference to that or not. Then in 1966, A Small World attraction opens in Disneyland on this very day. Even though it's not a very exciting ride. It's an iconic ride.
I love that
Exactly,
ride.
It's very classic.
Okay, the mine train closed in 1977, it's telling me.
Oh, okay.
It was like Big Thunder Mountain. I wonder if it was Big Thunder Mountain before it became Big Thunder Mountain.
I was going to say, it isn't the new mine train. It seems to be like a combination of Big Thunder Mountain and the Snow White ride.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know for sure.
Okay, yeah, Big Thunder Mountain did replace that mine train, so it's pretty similar. It looks like just rethemed, maybe little structure changes and stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty similar.
So then in 1986, Alice in Wonderland becomes the 5th Walt Disney classic to be released on video. And then in 1993, groundbreaking begins for the Tower of Terror attraction at Disney World.
Oh,
yeah. I didn't know that.
But what does that mean, groundbreaking? Like, meaning they're breaking the ground to start building it?
That's just what they call it, the day that they officially start doing construction.
Okay.
The first day that they do any type of physical construction.
That is so cool. This day is full of awesome stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then in 1994, Disney's Wilderness Lodge opens at Walt Disney World.
I didn't know it was that old. That's cool.
I know, it's crazy. I had to think about how old these things are. Then in 1999, a new Main Street Electrical Parade makes its debut at Disney World.
A new one?
That's what it said. I wasn't sure if you guys had any idea about that.
I know
it's not. Spectrum Magic was before that.
The Main Street Electrical Parade has been in operation since the 70s. It started in Disneyland, and I know they moved it over to Disney World, and then I know they moved it back over to Disneyland, and then that's when they got Spectrum Magic, is when they moved it back over to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of Spectrum Magic, and then they moved it back to Disney World. Now, when they say new, I'm thinking maybe it's just one of the times it got moved again.
It probably got moved back, and they just added something, or maybe they updated the lights and they called it new.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, and maybe they did change a few floats or something. Just maintenance purposes, because it is old. That thing, people always joke that it's not going to make it down the road one day. It's going to fall apart.
Going along with what Jen said about that, there's a really cool video on YouTube where they go behind the scenes with it's from a long time, might be from the 80s, and it was one of the times that they moved the parade, and they go all behind the scenes with the parade, and what they had to do was, and they show all this in the video, was they had to somehow deconstruct all of the floats, take all of the lights off of it, deconstruct all the floats, put it onto a giant moving truck, and ship it across the country from Florida to California. And then they had to rebuild it again, and so they had to make sure that they wrote down instructions of what part goes with where, and so it was extremely tedious how they did that if you think about it.
Yeah.
They had the Main Street Electrical Parade until 1991. That's when Spectrum Magic came in, and then Spectrum Magic ended in 1999, which is probably when that one you just mentioned came back from California, and then that rode until 2001 when it went back again, and they brought Spectrum Magic back in 2001. So really, they've been alternating between the two parades for a long time.
And then in 2006, Ashley Brown gives her final performance as Belle in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. And she has been cast for the title role of
Mary Poppins!
Yes, I knew you would know that.
I love Ashley Brown. She's amazing.
Oh,
yeah? Yes. She's fantastic. She's one of the best singers, I think. She's one of my top 5 Broadway voices.
Oh, wow.
Ever.
No, it's number 1, Idina Menzel.
What's up?
Is number 1 Idina Menzel.
No.
Oh, I thought that was...
Idina Menzel is probably... She's not one of my top 5 favorite singers.
Oh, really? Well,
I love her, but she's not one of my... In my opinion, she's not one of the best singers.
Wait, who are you guys talking about? I thought Adele Nazim or whatever. Okay, yeah, sorry for my joke. Okay. Are we ready for Jen's theme park corner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm ready.
Oh, there's going to be a lot for this. I know that there's going to be a lot.
Yes.
There's actually not too much, shockingly.
Oh.
There really isn't. Because unlike Fantasia, which is everywhere, subtly everywhere, Toy Story is not necessarily everywhere, but the places that it is it's big. It's a huge thing. Like, for example, there's 2 rides based on Toy Story. In Hollywood Studios, obviously the new, very popular Toy Story Midway Mania ride.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen.
And Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin in Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom.
That one's really cool. Yeah, I've been on that.
That one is fun. And they're both shooting rides, actually. They're both like a game. So
I have Toy Story Mania for the Wii.
Yeah.
But it's not as fun.
Definitely. Got to be in Disney to experience it fully. Yeah. There are 2 areas on property that kind of are based off of Toy Story. There's Pixar Place, which is where Toy Story Mania is. And it's kind of, the entrance is kind of decorated with the army men around, and there's blocks, and this kind of looks like the queue line almost to Toy Story Midway Mania. And the queue line in itself is amazing. That's just something to see it in itself.
Yeah.
And then a little kind of unknown, I never realized it was there, I just passed it 100 times, but in Hollywood Studios, they have a Pizza Planet.
Yeah, they do. Right. You're right. They do.
It's across from the Muppets. Across from the Muppets behind Star Tours, kind of in that little area that no one really goes. It's kind of random. I've never been in it either. I've never had a desire to go inside, but people forget about that little place. But that's cool that they made one. Yeah, I bet it looks really cool and detailed on the inside. Yeah. But I don't like pizza, so we never went in.
Oh, really?
You don't like pizza?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, wow.
Jen, get out right now.
I like cheese, though. I guess it's a tomato. I don't like tomatoes or tomato sauce. So
See, you're the first person who says they don't like pizza because of the tomato sauce. Everybody I meet says it's the cheese.
I love the cheese.
Me too. I love I like both, but...
Like, I'll eat white pizza, I guess. Or the kind with ranch dressing instead of tomato sauce.
Ooh. That would be interesting. I'll have to try that.
Oh, that's good. Chicken. I'll put chicken on it. That's good stuff. But it's not really pizza anymore, so that's why I don't count it.
Yeah.
But for meet and greets, you can meet Buzz and Woody together right across from Toy Story Midway Mania. They meet together. You can meet Woody, and I'm excluding Jessie and all them because we're not there yet. We're only on Toy Story 1. So you can meet Woody at Spice Splash Mountain in Frontierland in the Magic Kingdom. And you can meet Buzz next to the Carousel of Progress in Tomorrowland. He has his own little station there that you can meet him. And then also the Green Army Men. You see them frequently in the Pixar Place area by the ride and such.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, seasonally, during the Halloween party especially, that's a hard ticket event, and they get a certain amount of people and such, and it's kind of busy, so they open up something called the Diamond Horseshoe. I don't know if you ever passed the Diamond Horseshoe. It's in Liberty Square, I believe, next to the Liberty Tree Tavern. It's usually closed. It's only open seasonally for special hard ticket events. But for the Halloween party, they have something called Woody's Happy Harvest Roundup Dance Party.
Oh.
Yeah. I know for Christmas that's where you get your cookies and hot chocolate and stuff. So I guess for Halloween, we did do the Halloween party once, but I never really paid attention to that part of the building. But it looks like that they have this a Woody themed, Toy Story themed dance party in there. So that's something. And of course, for the Flower and Garden Festival in Epcot, they always have Woody and Buzz bushes and topiaries and such. Which I saw a bunch of them. They had them all mapped out and stuff when we were just there. So definitely Woody and Buzz are among those. For fireworks, there's not much Toy Story represented in fireworks. There's actually not much Pixar represented in fireworks. Maybe it's a Pixar thing, because they kind of have their own stuff, and it doesn't mix with the princesses and Mickey, I guess. So yeah. But in Celebrate the Magic, the new projection show on the castle, they have an important transition is when Buzz says to infinity and beyond, and it kind of transitions from maybe I can't remember, maybe the princessy stuff to the more actiony Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. So it kind of it's a transitional point, which is really important in the show, I think. In the parades, they used to have at Hollywood Studios a bunch of Toy Story floats and Pixar floats and in their old parades, but they don't have a parade at Hollywood Studios anymore. So there's Toy Story's not included in any parades really, except for the Christmas parade because of the toys. That's the toys. And in Fantasmic, there is no Pixar in Fantasmic.
No, you're right.
Not even on the boat. Not even in the end. There's nothing.
Really?
I mean, in California there are. Now this is interesting because in Disneyland, Woody and Buzz are on the boat, and also they're in the parades in Disneyland and Paris, but I'm talking about just Disney World. Pixar and Toy Story are not represented in very many parades or shows or fireworks specials or Fantasmic. It's not in the bubble part, the projections. I mean, there's no Finding Nemo, there's no Monsters Inc., there's no Toy Story, nothing in Fantasmic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't have that much because they have 2 big rides and a couple meet and greets, but they're not Pixar stuff is kind of isolated. It's not everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, makes sense for it to be where it is. Like it only to have its own specific areas for it. I remember that there is a Pixar parade though.
There used to be in Hollywood Studios.
I remember, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Because there was a big float that had the toy with the microphone on it.
Right.
And there was a big float that had all of that on it, yeah.
Yeah, I think they had the army men marching down. It was pretty elaborate. It was a special.
Yeah, I remember.
Because I know the Art of Animation area, I think they're kind of pushing more, because that's in Hollywood Studios, they're pushing more towards the Pixar stuff. But even then, they got rid of maybe a year or so ago, they got rid of their parades, so no more. No more Toy Story in the parades. And then
That's
in Magic Kingdom's parade, I don't believe their regular parade and their new Festival of Fantasy, I don't believe there's anything in there. Just the Christmas one, I know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it. It's not very long. Yeah, I got nothing. Just a few little bits and pieces.
I'm very surprised, but I guess it makes sense.
Maybe it is a Pixar thing.
Yeah.
Because you never really see Buzz and Woody next to Mickey or anything, or like with the princesses, or it's so 2 different worlds in a way, like literally 2 different worlds, 2 different types of animation. They just don't mix.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was just watching something today on YouTube called Did You Know Gaming? And they were talking about Kingdom Hearts, and they do all these facts that you probably didn't know about it. And the one thing was that Woody and Buzz were actually supposed to be one of the summon characters that you could summon in it, but it was they didn't use them for some reason. But you can still find like early stages of their development somehow in the game's code or something like that. So there were pictures of them on the internet. So it was supposed to be in that, but they didn't end up including it.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well then. Okay, why don't we get into our discussion then?
Okay, so Toy Story. Let's start with the just the overall. We did sort of talked about earlier about the computer animation aspect of it, how revolutionary this was, and how it was so different. Just there was this overall sense with the movie that Pixar-ness, I can't really describe it any other way, of the comedy, of the way the characters interact, the way that the movie is sort of for everybody, not just for kids, but there's adult, things in it too, and everybody can watch it. That had never been seen before, which is why in that Pixar-ness to it is just so different that it was just so creative, and it was just so innovative and great to see. Starting out with the story, at the very beginning, we see later on in Toy Story 3, but since we're not talking about that, just Toy Story, the original Toy Story. It starts off with, of course, the clouds in the sky with the Toy Story logo, and then it sort of comes down to showing Andy playing with the toys, and it's just this sort of really setting the scene of how this is taking place, and none of the toys are alive yet, and you see see Andy playing with them and making up all these different scenarios with them, with the evil Dr. Porkchop and death by monkeys or death by and so you see sort of all of the different characters being used, and then the Mr. Potato Head is left in the baby crib, and the baby girl starts like banging with them or playing with them, and so Andy takes her to see the mom, and then that's where we first see all of the toys come to life. And you really see them in this sense of they were real characters, and that's really how toys would act and react in that type of an environment. You see all the different toys interacting differently with each other, and so it's just this sense of the toys the first time we see them acting in their environment. Of course, with the sort of proclaimed, I don't know about self-proclaimed, I don't know how they did this, but Woody being the proclaimed leader, telling everybody, okay, he's not here, you can come to life now, you don't have to stay there and be a toy, and him saying, okay, right. Andy's coming.
I think he's the leader because he's Andy's favorite.
Yeah.
That's why? Okay.
I think.
So what did you guys think of this first scene where all the toys come to life and they were seen interacting with each other? I know one of my favorite parts is when the little tykes are shown on the fire truck, because I had that exact toy, so that was I loved seeing that. And then there was the other one where all the little faces they keep getting bigger and they go inside of each other.
Oh, yeah. The little egg things.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of just like the first time that the toys come to life and we see this room with everybody in it?
I think it's almost, as kids, you almost wish that this would happen.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I was like, oh, yes, this is so cool. And now as an adult, my favorite part of this scene is when Potato Head goes up to Ham, and he says, he has like his features all mixed up, and he's like, look, I'm Picasso. And,
yeah.
Ham's like, I don't get it. And he's like, you uncultured swine.
Oh, that's what he said. I never knew what he said then. Yeah.
My favorite thing about them just starting to come out and you get a feel for everyone. I love picking out the different toys that I had as a kid or what my friends had, and seeing that interpretation, I guess, on screen, because you see Candyland in the background, and you see the sketch thing, and the toy phones, and just everything, the car, and you just think, I remember picking out, oh, I used to have that toy, or I guess in 1995 I still did, but I was like, oh, I have that one, or I had just like that, or I remember picking out all the toys that I had.
Right. The Etch-a-Sketch, I remember that. I just remember just the first time as a kid that you see this, it's like, I loved seeing what each of the toys' characters were. How Mr. Potato Head, they had him sort of as this really making fun of everything comedian, and Rex was this very unconfident, didn't think he could do anything, he couldn't roar or anything like that. And so I really liked seeing how the different personalities of the different characters and how they all interacted with each other. Just going through the cast here, there were a lot of really famous, and this became very typical of all of the Toy Story movies, where all of the different characters were played by very famous actors or actresses that you had probably heard of before. Tom Hanks, of course, was Woody, him coming off of Splash and also Philadelphia and Trading Spaces. Not really kids' movies, but he was an extremely famous actor in then still is in that time period. Tim Allen was an actor that in that time period was doing Home Improvement. They had just did the Santa Claus movie, which was right before that. Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head. Don Rickles was a very, like I said, very making fun of everything, very sarcastic, old man comedian, and that's why Mr. Potato Head also acts like that. Jim Varney as Slinky. Jim Varney was the guy that played Ernest in all of the Ernest movies. Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest, that's the same guy that was Slinky. And then that actor actually ended up passing away and before they made Toy Story 3, and it was then replaced by the actor that played Sean's father in Boy Meets World. Oh, interesting trivia for you there. Wallace Shawn as Rex, one of my favorite character.
Yes.
Wallace Shawn, of course, being from the not the Princess Diaries, the Princess Bride, the one that says inconceivable. That same guy. He was also from another movie, Lunch with Morty or something like that, where he played a very. The whole thing was him sort of eating out at a place with somebody else, and he played this very sheepish, unconfident, I don't know what I'm doing type character, and so they really put his personality into Rex. Just a couple
guy,
more.
Yeah, here. I'm looking him up, and I've seen him in a million things.
Yeah, he's
seriously.
He's been in a lot. His voice has been used in a lot of different things.
His voice is very iconic.
Yes, it's very different, and it's very, you can pick it out from anywhere.
Yeah.
He was also in one where, like, the kids lock all the adults in the basement, and he was one of the adults. And that's sort of the first time I remember seeing what he looked like. I forget what that movie's called. John Ratzenberger, of course, as Ham, and as we will go into our as we go later on in the show, when we go into our game, we'll show this more. But John Ratzenberger actually became a joke that his voice has been somehow used in every single Pixar movie that's ever been made, starting right with Ham, the piggy bank, right in the original first Toy Story movie, and then Laurie Metcalf as Andy's mom. Laurie Metcalf, of course, was currently during this time famous for being Aunt Jackie in the show Roseanne.
That blew my mind when I saw her name on the cast list. I think I figured that out back when Toy Story 2 or 3 came out, and that blew my mind. That changed my life.
She also, and I kept trying to figure out what this voice was from, and I couldn't, and then I realized it was her in Meet the Robinsons. She was Lucille, the old woman science teacher that does the thing with the caffeine patches. I'm using the old new caffeine patch, and then she screams. That was her also. And she also currently, if anybody watches The Big Bang Theory, she currently plays Sheldon's mother, which was also interesting because the same people worked on that show as Roseanne. Of course, Leonard played, the guy Johnny Galecki who plays Leonard on The Big Bang Theory was David in Roseanne, and also Leslie, I forget what her last name is in The Big Bang Theory, but the other scientist, Leslie, that's the same woman that was Darlene in Roseanne, and Darlene and David were dating, and then later on in The Big Bang Theory, they actually get married and they have a kid. And later on in The Big Bang Theory, they try to date and it doesn't work out, and so it was just sort of a funny inside joke.
Might I also add that this Laurie, she has been nominated for Tonys the last couple of years, so she's been doing plays in theater. Which is really cool. I've seen her name all over Broadway world.
I was going to say, she sounds really familiar, because I don't really watch Roseanne, but I know this name sounded familiar.
My mom
so I must have been
it.
seeing that.
Yeah.
I grew up watching it. My mom loves it. It's her favorite show ever.
If you look it up, and then you'll see her right away, and it's the same thing as Andy. And of course, she's the same one that plays Andy's mom in all of the in Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. And then finally, Eric Von Detten, who was a really young kid at the time, played Sid Phillips, the kid next door, and I remember my sister loving him. He was a sort of a big teen heartthrob back in this day. He was in, if anybody remembers the Disney Channel original movie Brink, he was the main kid in Brink. He was in, there were a lot of other TV shows and other things you can then look him up that he was in. He's way over 30 years old right now.
He was in Princess Diaries.
Oh, I love that movie.
I know, I do too.
I've never seen that movie.
But, all these people were in ER. I think every one of them.
Yeah.
Really?
I do always enjoy
the
her.
Was the Wallace, the Rex. He was in ER.
Gene Wallace. Yeah, he probably was.
Can I just say that when I was younger, my favorite character was Woody, and I was so disappointed that Tim Allen didn't voice him, because I really liked Tim Allen when I was younger. I loved the Santa Claus. Yeah. And I was like, Tom Hanks, what the heck? Why isn't he voiced by Tim Allen? But now I do like Tom Hanks, so...
I think that all of these characters were perfect, and that the way that they wrote their characters was based around the person that voiced them. John Ratzenberger as Ham, of course I described. One thing I forgot to say about him, he's in every Pixar movie. But before that, because this is the first one, so before this, he was most well known for playing Cliff the Postman on Cheers. That was his most famous, biggest role.
Fun fact, I saw him in our Pittsburgh airport once. I
Really?
forgot about this. Yes, me and my mom were going to New York, I think, to LaGuardia, and we were walking through our airport, and I remember he was walking the other way, and my mom's like, should I say something? I'm like, no, don't bother him, but she didn't listen to me. So she went up to him and she said hi and stuff, but I think
I would have said something to him.
That was about it, but yeah, we met him in our Pittsburgh airport.
Yeah, I would have said something to him. I've always really enjoyed everything that he's been in and all the characters that they have him doing. One of my favorite parts it's from Toy Story 2, when they're running down the street and his cork pops out and everybody looks and he's like, okay, nobody look until I get my cork back in. Because it's like Ham's naked or something. All of his money comes back out. So that's pretty much the cast of the movie. Obviously very famous actors that everybody's voice is recognizable, and that's something that's sort of the same for Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, that if you look at who voiced them, you probably know most of the people in them, and they really fit the character to the person that's playing them. I know one of my other favorite matches and between character and person that's voicing them is, I don't know what her name is, but the woman who voices Mrs. Potato Head in Toy Story 2. She was perfect. If anybody remembers in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, she was Muriel the maid, that same actress. So she's done stuff with Disney before. So that was I just thought that she was so perfect as Mrs. Potato Head, that sort of screaming, overprotective mother type. I thought that was just hilarious. So all the toys come to life, and Andy calls a meeting, and
Woody.
Woody. Sorry, Woody.
I do the same thing all the time. So
yeah. Oh no, you're fine. Woody calls a meeting, and this is something that I didn't find funny until I was much later. But when he's sort of saying like, Mr. Sketch's Plastic Awareness Night, I think, was a big success. We can all give him a big hand for that, and like everybody claps for him, and he writes "thank you" on his little screen. Mm-hmm. I thought that was one of the funniest things. Just the way that Tom Hanks said that line. I think it was such a big success. It was it's one of the funniest things. And he was talking all about how they're moving, and so everybody needs to have a moving buddy. And then another favorite line of mine, when Mr. Potato Head holds up his own hand, says, "Do we have to hold hands?" And it was just so funny the way that he did that. And Rex is freaking out because I don't want to be left behind, and all the toys' characters and personalities are being shown. And then finally Woody says that the birthday party, he sort of tries to make a really low note of it, but the birthday party has been moved to today, and then everybody freaks out about it. And
can I just say real quick that when Woody is making his little speech, if you guys look at the books in the background, there's a book called Tin Toy back there.
Oh,
I
really?
Saw that.
That was the thing that they based, that they got the idea from.
Oh,
right.
That was the short that we talked about earlier.
I did not catch that, why it was in the background, but I did see it in the background. That's cool.
Oh, I didn't see that at all. Wow.
Well, I also want to say, I want to quote Rex when he's like, "What if Andy gets a new dinosaur? I don't know if I can take that kind of rejection."
Yeah.
But that's sooner, so sorry, go ahead.
Right. Oh, no, you're fine. I think that might have been the same actor, like a line that he had said in another one of his movies, or something like that. So all the toys freak out. Rex says that, and you sort of realize that the toys are all scared that that birthday parties and Christmas, it's all a very troublesome time for a toy, and you think, wow, it really would be a tough time for a toy, because you don't know if he's going to get another toy that he's going to like more, because you know how kids are with new toys, and they sort of forget about the old ones, and so that's why it is that they all start freaking out, and Woody's trying to keep them under control, and they get interrupted by Ham, who says, "Oh, I hate to break up the meeting, but they're here," and then everybody freaks out, and they all go up to the window to look at the presents that the kids are bringing in, and somebody gets Lenny, who was the toy binoculars, and they start looking at them. Oh, they're getting bigger. They keep getting bigger. And then one is really long, but it's only shown from the front. So they say, oh, there's a small one there. And then he turns it sideways, and it's really long. They all go, ah! And they all
so funny.
And they close the shade really quick. That was I remember that so well when I was a guy. I thought that was so funny.
Where's the part where Mr. Potato Head puts his lips to his butt like he's kissing ass?
Yeah.
Somebody's being a kiss ass to Woody.
Yeah, somebody,
later.
yeah. I thought that was later, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when Buzz is already there.
Oh, is it? I wasn't sure because I have it written down.
I don't remember.
I remember that too. I never got that
I do
when
love
I was
this
a
whole
kid.
segment because it just shows you where their priorities are and what their problems are as toys, as in toys have conflict and problems too. And they're afraid of being replaced, so that's what their problems are in their little toy life. And I just found that fascinating because I never thought about that. Really, especially from their perspective, and that's what their problem is built around, and that's so smart, I think.
Right. I thought that too. That would make sense that they would dislike birthday parties and Christmas and things, as we'll see later on in the movie. So all the toys freak out, and Woody sends the Green Army men down to where the party is to sort of spy on them and to report back up what's going on. I thought it was funny. If I send the army guys down, will you promise to be calm? And then Rex is like, yes, we promise! And he's like freaking out as he's saying it. That was also one of the funniest parts. So he sends them, and I love this whole sequence where it shows the army men marching out of their little container, and the music and how they fly down the stairs, and it's sort of from their perspective, it's this grand journey to go out of the room and over the balcony, and they have parachutes that they go down the stairs, and they take the baby monitor with them, and they use the jump rope to get the monitor down, and it's this whole process that they do, and it's just going downstairs. And
I love also when the Andy's mom steps on one of the soldiers. And he's like, go on without me.
Yeah, because she hurts him. And so they hide in the plant. They hide in the plant. This is also something else, is that remembering what a birthday party was like around this time as a kid was really, really like what they show in this movie, where all the kids come over and they all have their presents, and the mom's like, oh, I have this flavor of potato chip and this potato chip, and they have like all of the happy birthday sign is set up, and the whole place is set up. I was at our place at the Jersey Shore over the weekend, and there was a kid birthday party going on next door to us. And I could see what was going on, and there were all these, like, maybe 9, 10-year-old, I think most of them were girls, there were some boys sprinkled in here and there. And all of a sudden, like, I don't know why they thought to do this, but the mom thought that she was trying to be all cool, and she, like, put music on for them, and she started trying to do the Cupid Shuffle with them, and they were dancing, and it was just really weird to think that that's what kids do at birthday parties now, whereas back then when we were kids, sort of what's shown here, where it was very traditional in the house with all the kids coming over with the presents, and the mom has all the food out, and they set the whole house up for it. Just that difference between then and now, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really had my birthday parties at home. They were always at Chuck E. Cheese or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
There's another. Yeah. I always had mine at home.
I had them maybe until I went to school. Like, my family birthday parties with all my aunts, uncles, and cousins, they were at the house. But whenever I started having school friends in kindergarten, maybe 5 years old and up, I had them at Chuck E. Cheese or the park, or I don't even know.
Right.
Oh, the skating rink. Yeah. And all those places.
I always had mine at home because mine's in the middle of July, and so I just always had mine at home.
Yeah, I think it was a mixture for me. But I want to take this opportunity really quick to talk about my grub.
Okay.
I was going to bring it up later, but it actually will fit pretty well here. So, we see the toys freaking out about the new toys that are coming into their life. And before I watched this movie, I was actually watching a clip of the new Disney Channel show, Girl Meets World. And I really wanted to talk about it in some way on this show. And I watched Toy Story, and I was like, actually, there is a way I can bring it up. And what I'm going to talk about is this idea of us being fearful of new things coming into our lives, and how we're so critical of certain things coming in. For example, of Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World. How the toys are watching these new toys come, and they're freaking out, and they're like, oh, will they replace us? Will they live up to us? Let's hope not, because we really cherish the things that we have. And to me, that was just so speaking to the idea of, like, entertainment that's released today for us, especially something like Girl Meets World, because we already have something to compare it to, and it's like the new toy in Andy's room, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a preview for Girl Meets World. I get what they're doing. I didn't like that the It's a Laugh Productions was this company that was producing it. I didn't like that because all of the stuff that they make is very the same. They changed the setup for it, but it all looks the same. I think that they're just sort of piggybacking off of the Boy Meets World fandom and our age group that grew up with that show, and they're just trying to get something popular from that, when it actually, if you look at it, it didn't look like. The thing about Boy Meets World that made it so great was that the parents looked like parents. The house looked like your house that you would live in. The whole thing was set up to be like, so you would put yourself in that position. And this one, it just looked like the same, where the girls were all dressed up and looked perfectly made by their wardrobe department, and they were saying all of these cliche lines that I just thought that, like, I applaud them for trying to do something like this, but I thought that they should have stayed more true to being different from the rest of the Disney Channel shows than the same, which is what it looked like to me.
I agree, and I'm nervous because, well, apparently the pilot's online. So I'll have to watch that, but from what I've seen, I'm kind of with you, Eric. I'm hoping they prove me wrong once I watch more episodes.
So.
But it does seem like you're right. Boy Meets World had a very suburban 90s feel, and of course it's not the 90s anymore, but still, the way they have it is like they're living in New York City, which I guess makes sense.
It makes sense because at the end of Boy Meets World they did, but like, have them live in a more realistic setting in New York. Don't like do the whole. I guess there's that show Jessie where she's a maid for these kids that live in she's a nanny for these kids that live in an upscale penthouse or something. It's just the same type of thing.
Yeah. I don't watch either of those, but I guess the best comparison would be like ER and Grey's Anatomy.
Oh,
because the main thing, whenever I'm going back and watching all these interviews and retrospectives on ER now, and the main thing people say is they look like regular people. They could be regular doctors, but then when you look at the people in Grey's Anatomy, and like you said, they're all made up and it's elaborate and it's different.
I agree with you. My dad, who's a doctor, always he hates Grey's Anatomy, and he loved ER. I remember him always watching ER when I was a kid. And with Grey's Anatomy, he always said, when you work in a hospital, you're up for 12 hours at a time. You don't look like they look like in that show. Exactly. They don't look like that. The doctors are all there.
The thing about Grey's Anatomy is that it's just, to me, they're all caricatures of what certain doctors are, I guess. And so they're very exaggerated and to the point of being so annoying that I just can't stand the show.
Yeah,
but I've never watched ER.
It's so good.
Yeah, I want to start watching it.
All right.
I love it.
So getting back to where we were in Toy Story, I don't know how we went way off there.
It was a grub.
Yeah, that was good. That was a grub, that's very true. Getting back to Toy Story, so the Green Army men are sent down and they hide in the plant, and they're reporting back through the, I think it was the baby monitor, because the baby was seen in the crib in the same room. So they took the baby monitor down and they're reporting up to the top baby monitor, which Woody has, and they're sort of saying everything that Andy's getting. And I remember one of the things was like, he says, and he's opening it and he has bed sheets, and then somebody says, who invited that kid?
That's
like,
Mr.
Yeah,
Potato.
Mr. Potato says that. I always thought that was so funny. Like, why invent the kid that's going to give you bed sheets? Like, who invited him? and so at the very end, he says, the mom, oh no, they think that they're leaving. They're like, oh, pack it up and let's go home. And then they turn it off, and then they turn it back on. And they say, oh, the mom's got a surprise present, and all the kids go crazy, and they can't see what it is. And they run up, and it's the Buzz Lightyear, and they sort of go crazy with it. And we see symbolically Woody was left on the bed. Andy sort of throws him to the ground and says, clear space, this is where the spaceship lands. And then he puts the spaceship there, and then the mom says, like, oh, come on, kids, I've got cake. And they all run back down.
Oh,
and Buzz is
I
left
also
there.
love how Buzz, his wrapping paper is Buzz Lightyear wrapping paper. That's not a surprise.
Oh, it is? I didn't see that,
box.
Yeah, I know, but I never picked up on that as a kid, but I definitely noticed it.
I
don't
didn't
know why I
see
didn't
that,
notice it
yeah.
before.
I never noticed
I
that.
noticed it was space. I don't think when I was little I specifically noticed Buzz on the paper. I knew it was space looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was space, yeah.
So Buzz is left there, and they all leave, and I remember Buzz talking into his little speaker saying, oh, come in, Star Command. Why don't they ever answer? Because he thinks it's like the real thing, and it's like a plastic thing on his wrist. You know, no, gravity is unstable, and he's like bouncing on the bed. There's no sign of intelligent life everywhere, and then Woody pops up and says, like, hello, or something. Yeah. I mean, that was a big part in all of the trailers on
Yes.
TV and all the commercials was him saying that, yeah. And,
The iconic trailer.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. And so Woody actually originally tries to be nice to him and tries to welcome him, but Buzz keeps insisting that he's the real Buzz Lightyear and he's crash landed on a strange planet, and he doesn't believe them. And then all the other toys come out, and they're all sort of enamored with Buzz, and he says, like, oh, where are you from? Where are you from? Well, what do you mean where I'm from? And Rex says, well, for example, I'm from Mattel. And that's, I always thought that was funny. And this is when Woody starts getting really annoyed with Buzz for how he's acting, that he thinks that he's the real Buzz Lightyear. He thinks he's an actual. He doesn't realize he's a toy. And that's when he challenges him and says, you can't fly. And he says, yes, I can. And then he goes on he says, yes, I can. And then he does the famous part where he flies on the racing car track and ends up on the plane, and he goes around in circles. And I remember loving that part. I thought that the part with the race car, I had something exactly like that where it goes up in a loop. I remember really, really liking it. Oh, by the way, Danielle, do you realize how dark it just got outside?
Oh my gosh, same. I thought I was the only one who that was happening
we
to.
just had bad thunderstorms here, like maybe an hour and a half ago.
I'm like, wait a minute, it's almost June.
Yeah, it just started getting dark here, and now it's raining right now at my house.
I thought, wait a minute, it just started raining here too. I thought, wait a minute, like, isn't it? It's not like 9 o'clock. Have you really been talking for that long?
I didn't even think about the fact that we're like basically in the same area.
Yeah, I thought that it was all dark because it was nighttime, but now nighttime. Oh, now it's getting all windy. Can you hear that?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Yeah, there was bad thunder and lightning earlier, like around 3 or even 3:30. Because I was thinking, I hope power doesn't go out before this podcast starts.
Oh, let's hope that doesn't happen for us.
It's beautiful now, so we'll be getting sun soon. Or no clouds anyway.
I wanted to say real quick before you move on, Eric. Well, 2 things. One is, I don't know if you guys noticed the Mickey Mouse watch on the wall.
No, I didn't.
It's like it looks like a poster, but it's a watch. It was weird, but I noticed that, and then like the part where Buzz corrects Woody and says, excuse me, you meant to say Space Ranger. And Woody's like, the word I'm searching for, I can't say, because there are preschool toys present. I thought that was great.
Doesn't he call him Buzz Lightyear at one point?
Oh, probably. I
think that was the first time he addresses him. He says Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. Oh, I forget now. I think you're right, though. This shows ring composition, the scene where Buzz flies, because in the beginning we see him flying, but really it's a fabrication of flying. He's not technically flying.
Mm-hmm.
He's falling gracefully.
Exactly.
Falling
and then
with style.
You see not only the story come full circle at the end when he actually flies, but when he says, "I'm falling with style," it shows his character growth.
Yeah.
So I really love that.
Yeah. So they're all impressed, and Woody's all mad that all the toys love Buzz now. And then we get into the song "Strange Things Are Happening," which I remember really liking this song, where all the things are.
Yeah, it brings back feelings.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
If you go the Toy Story for Super Nintendo, that is the song. It's not "You've Got a Friend in Me," but that song that plays when you turn on the game. Like a 16-bit version of it. Bum, 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 bum. I always love that song. So it's showing sort of through a montage of all of the things that were used to be Cowboys things in Andy's room are now turning into space themed things. The bed sheets change color. The trash can, if I remember, changes. They show the hat changing into a space helmet. They show Buzz helping Rex be able to roar better because Woody tried at the beginning and couldn't do it. And all the toys now like Buzz, and he's doing all this stuff for everybody, and Woody's getting really mad about everything. I remember the part where I think that somehow Buzz beats Woody at checkers, and he kicks the checkerboard, and the checker hits the something, and it comes back at him, and he catches it in his mouth. And so this whole idea that Woody is getting really frustrated with how much better Andy appears to like Buzz than him, and he's being forgotten about, and he's no longer the leader because he's not Andy's favorite anymore. And it really, you can feel Woody's frustrations with that. At the same time as all this, the family is getting closer to moving, which they were talking about at the beginning, moving from the house to their new house. And the Andy's mom says that they were going to go to Pizza Planet because because they were getting ready to move. And so he can bring one toy with him, and he chooses Buzz. And he's going to choose. His mom says you can choose one toy, and Woody thinks or knows that he's going to choose Buzz. So Woody sets this whole chain reaction up where the lamp knocks Buzz out the window, and so Andy takes Woody instead.
Real quick, and I'll make this grub really quick, but I have one more grub to talk about at this part. And it's basically has to do with the fact that Woody is so freaking jealous of Buzz that he will go to any lengths to get rid of him at this moment, it seems like. And this is going to a little dark territory, and we won't talk about it too much, but I don't know if you guys have seen that video that just premiered a few days ago about the kid who was the son of a Hunger Games co-director.
No, I didn't see this. You
didn't? Okay, well, I'm going to describe it to you as best I can. Basically, there's a video, and I'll put the link in the show notes, where this kid grew up in somewhere near Hollywood in California, and he was never popular. Whoa, big lightning. Okay. He didn't have many friends, it sounds like, and girls never went out with him, no matter how much he asked. So he decided that he was going to slaughter them all. That's literally the words he uses. He has a 7-minute video of him basically saying, "You girls, like you popular girls that never went out with me, I'm going to go to sorority houses and slaughter you all to show you that I am the perfect guy."
I don't know how that works, but...
I mean, literally, like, I know it sounds weird that I'm saying it that way, but that's how he sounds when he says it in the video. And it just, I mean, I know Woody, it's not that extreme, but it just made me think about the lengths that Woody is going to get rid of Buzz. I mean, this is kind of the darkest moment of the movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he literally is willing to take away his life to get his own life back.
Yeah. I agree, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll have to send you guys that video. It's very disturbing. The guy, in parts of the video, he laughs, and to me, it was like a Disney villain, like when they laugh.
Wow.
It was really weird. So definitely, when you get a chance, watch it. Well, if you're not, it is very disturbing, but it's definitely worth watching. Just to, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's my grub. We don't have to go into it because that would be like a whole nother podcast, but I just saw a comparison. So, you can continue.
Very nice. Oh, thank you. So Woody sets I remember really finding this, because I loved contraptions like this and everything when I was little, and so I loved this whole thing where he would, something with the, I remember the globe was chasing him, much like parodying the Indiana Jones, and then he sort of dives to the side and the globe hits the lamp, which then hits him out, and he falls out, and then Andy, so Woody succeeds, and all the toys think that, Humpty Dumpty didn't fall off the wall. He was pushed by Woody. I always thought that was really funny. But then Andy comes and takes Woody. Woody insists it was an accident when we knew that it wasn't. So Andy comes to get Woody to go to Pizza Planet, and Buzz, who had fallen out the window, gets into the back of the truck with them, and when they stop at the gas station, Buzz attacks Woody and pushes him out of the car because he's all mad at him, and the car leaves. And I remember thinking, this is way before cell phones or anything. Like, wow, if you were in that situation, you were left as a toy. You were left at the gas station. You're done for. You have no way to get back. You have no way to do anything. Like, that was a really scary thought to me.
I had a moment of, wow, that's really, really scary if you are a toy and you're abandoned like that.
Yeah, right. I remember that being really scary, and Woody gets all upset, and Buzz keeps trying to call Star Command, and this is when Woody really lets out and screams at him that, you are a toy! You are a tiny child's plaything, when you just hear his frustrations and just what he's trying to get across to him come out. And that's when Buzz says his famous line of, you are a sad, strange little man.
Yeah.
And that
it
line...
is a Star Trek symbol with his hands afterwards.
Yeah,
really?
I noticed that for the first time.
Yeah.
I did not know.
I forgot about
so
that.
Quick.
I think I knew.
It's so quick.
Yeah.
And then that line is actually echoed by the clone of Tim Allen in the Santa Claus 2, when there's a clone that's made of him, and the thing starts attacking him, and he says that you are a sad, strange little man. And immediately when that happened, I was like, oh my god, that's from Toy Story, I get it. That was the same guy. And
I've only seen that once. I'm surprised I didn't pick up on that.
Well, watch the Santa Claus 2 again. He says the same line. Tim Allen says the same line. But luckily for Woody and Buzz, a Pizza Planet van comes, and they hop in, and then that's when Woody doesn't want to reveal their toyness, so he says, okay, on the count of 3, we'll hop in the back. And then Buzz has already gone in the front and has the seatbelt on. And so Woody gets in the back, and that's when the toy chest is in the back and keeps hitting him and knocking him around and everything. And so they end up at Pizza Planet. It's amazing how much is in this story and how many places they go, and that's in just this 1.5 hour long movie. So they end up at Pizza Planet, and they're trying to find Woody's trying to find Andy. Buzz is trying to find he thinks that they're at a spaceship place, and he's trying to find a spaceship to get back to his home planet. Woody finds them. And Woody thinks that Woody wants to jump in the basket, so once again he says, okay, on the count of 3, let's jump in the basket. But Buzz has already jumped into the crane machine, which he thinks is a spaceship. And that's when we get the famous scene of, ew, the claw. It says who will leave and who will go. And so then that's when Woody sees Sid, who is playing the game, and he tries to get Buzz out because he doesn't want Sid to pick them, because he knows what Sid does. Sid was shown earlier in the movie torturing toys as the next door neighbor, and Sid actually does end up catching Buzz, and Sid can't see this, but Woody's trying to pull Buzz away, like out the other end, and and he gets really mad. Hey, let go of my prize! And then that's when all the little toys start attacking Woody and saying, "No, the claw has chosen. You must let him go." And so they all start attacking him. And so Woody ends up with Buzz, and he's double prizes. And so they end up with Sid, which is what they wanted, and they end up back at Sid's house in Sid's room with all of Sid's demented-looking toys that he's sort of ripped apart. And what?
Sorry, there was a really big flash of lightning. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. So they end up back in Sid's room, and I remember being really scared by all of these toys and these images of these toys, especially the one with the baby face that's on the spider legs. That was really freaky looking.
I have to go now, but I will be back for the game and the question of the week. So keep talking about the episode, and then I'll be back in a bit.
Okay.
Bye.
In Sid's room, we see all of these really weird-looking toys. There was the fishing rod that had legs on it. There was the half scuba diver guy that was on the skateboard. There was the monkey roller guy. There was the baby face with the spider legs. And I remember them being really scary looking. And I guess that was the point. And he thinks that they're attacking Buzz, but they actually fix him because he had broken his arm when he had seen that he had seen a commercial for him on the TV, and he realized that he wasn't the actual Buzz Lightyear, and he tried to fly and he couldn't, so he broke his arm.
Right.
And so they finally realized we have to get back to Andy's room. So they hatched this big plan. He gets a rocket and he's going to blow up he tapes Buzz to the rocket and he's going to blow him up. And so they hatch this big plan, and I love this part where they go through the vents and they ring the doorbell and the thing chases the dog away, and it was this big plan, and it all ends up with all the toys out in the yard around the rocket where Buzz was going to be, and he comes out and he's about to light the match to send the rocket with Buzz on it, and he's going to blow him up, and Woody starts, he pulls his own string, he starts saying his sayings, and he starts talking in his string voice. His mouths aren't moving, but he starts talking in the string voice to Sid about how you don't take good care of your toys, Sid, because we can see everything, and his head turns around, and all the toys are coming out from everywhere. I was thinking this. If a toy really did, that would be so scary. If a toy, seriously. He said his full name to him and everything, that would be so creepy. And then at the very end, he comes to life and he says, "So play nice." And then Sid goes crazy, and they try to get they win, and they get Buzz, and they try to get to the moving van, but the moving van it leaves without them.
But real quick, also, when they're going to the moving van, one thing you see is the character development in Woody, the fact that he stays behind to help Buzz get through the fence.
Right. And
you also see on the license plate the code A113. And I looked up the significance of that, because that's in, I think, every Pixar movie. And it's in a lot of other action movies, it's in the second Hunger Games movie, The Avengers, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's basically A113 was an animation classroom at California Institute of the Arts. And so a lot of people in Hollywood will refer back to that, and Pixar always does. So I thought that was cool.
Very nice. Yeah. So Woody ends up on the van. All the toys are in the boxes, and he gets RC out. And they think that he's trying to steal him, but he's trying to get Buzz. So what ends up happening is they throw Woody out of the moving van with the remote control to RC in his hand, and he ends up with Buzz on the car and driving them back to the moving van, which in reality a little racing car could never go as fast as a moving van could, but this is just for movie's sake. So the batteries died, and then they realize they have the rocket, and he had left the match in Woody's pocket, so he lights the rocket, and but the match ends up going out, so they use the reflection off of his helmet, Buzz's helmet, and they end up going in the air, and the rocket explodes, and the wings come out, and they start flying. And he says, "Buzz, you're flying." And he says, "Oh no, I'm falling with style." And then Woody says, "To infinity and beyond." And they end up back in the car. And during a point of this whole chase part, you see them in the car listening to Hakuna Matata on a cassette tape. I was just about to say that. Yeah, which had only come out a year before. If you think about how popular that got within 1 year.
I know, it's crazy.
And so they end up back in the car, and all of the toys move into the new house, and it's Christmas, and
again, it's full circle.
Right, full circle. They're shown again, and then the toys are shown. Instead of Rex saying, "I don't know if I could take that kind of rejection," he says, "Oh, maybe we can play the dominant predator game." I don't know what that means, but he says something like that. And so the thing that they get a Mrs. Potato Head, which will come in Toy Story 2, and then they get a dog, they get a puppy, which was the scene before with Sid's puppy was a big thing that they didn't like, was a dog, and so they get a puppy and they're like, "Oh God, no," and then that's when the movie ends. So that is Toy Story, a really, really great innovation in computer animation, in starting the whole Pixar franchise, creating iconic characters, a really great, well-developed storyline showing their development from the beginning to the end of the movie, and just an overall really, really great, well-made film that became the template for Pixar movies in the future.
And I think that you could hold this in the same pedestal as something like Snow White. It was
Correct.
that it changed the industry of how movies were made. Because when I first saw Toy Story, I always viewed it as like this really special movie compared to other Disney movies. Mm-hmm. And now it's really, we're almost desensitized to them because we see this computer animation everywhere now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so this was really changed the way the animation was, just like Snow White did.
I agree.
Yeah. So now it's time for our zippity-doo-dah moment. So, Jen, why don't you start off?
Okay. My favorite moment's actually a really sad moment, but I remember it's the one thing that stuck with me through all the other Toy Stories and just life, is whenever Andy, you could see the times passing and everything in Andy's room is going over from cowboy to space, and his blankets change and his posters change, and it just fades into Buzz theme stuff, and then he takes his hat off, and instead of having his cowboy hat, he has the Buzz wings and everything. Like, that little portion always stuck with me, the way that he completely transformed his room over. So that's my favorite moment. Even though it's sad, it's still my favorite moment.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. What about you, Eric?
My favorite one is when they are at Sid's room. They're in Sid's room, and Sid falls asleep, and it's raining outside, and they think that he's gonna wake up, and he's like dreaming about something. He says he like half wakes up. He's like, "I want to ride the pony," and it was funny because he's like this really punk, like tough kid, and I remember always thinking that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I always loved that part.
Nice. I think mine, I never really noticed this part until I got older, is right after Jen's zippity-doo-dah moment when Woody wakes up in the toy box and his hat isn't on, and he's like, "Hey, where's my hat?" And the shark pops up and he's like, "Look, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy."
Oh yeah,
I remember that just from today. That was so funny. Oh, and then whenever Bo Peep talks to Woody for the first time or whatever, and she's like, "I'm just a few blocks away," and then there's like
the
building
blocks are
right
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that was funny. Yeah.
So many funny parts in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's laugh out loud moments.
Mm-hmm.
So,
moving on to our game.
Yeah.
This game is called Where is John? So as I said earlier, John Ratzenberger, the voice of Ham in all of the Toy Story movies, that became a tradition and sort of inside joke that his voice would be used in some respect or another in every Pixar movie. So I'm going to give you a name of a Pixar movie, and I want you to tell me which character he voiced. Keep in mind, he was in every single Pixar movie. Okay, let's start with Jen, and not too hard. I'll start with Up.
I've never seen Up.
Oh, really? Danielle, let's start with you.
Oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna really have to think.
Because I remember watching it, I always look for him, and so it happens pretty early, so I knew exactly when it happened.
Oh, is he the guy, when they're trying to move Carl out of his house? And, he's one of the guys from the nursing home?
No, he's not,
okay.
But you're in the right time frame for when he is.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
He's the construction worker, Tom the construction worker, that talks to him about the house. As soon as you'll know it as soon as it happens. See, I always look for it, and it happens pretty early on, so I was, there he is, and I knew it right away.
Okay, so I was kind of close.
You were close.
It was around
he
that
wasn't
time.
one of the, because it would make sense that he was one of, but he wasn't one of those two guys.
Okay.
Jen, let's go with The Incredibles. This is one that I didn't know.
Wait, let's keep in mind. Oh wait, you didn't do the draft last week. You don't know the fact that out of the 14 or whatever Pixar movies, I've only seen 6 of them, and 3 of those are Toy Story 1, 2, and 3.
What were the other 3?
I've only seen Finding Nemo, WALL-E, and another one. Oh, Bug's Life, but that was a long time ago.
Okay, let's go with WALL-E.
WALL-E. Is he one of the? He's one of the humans, probably.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I think his name in it is John, and that's his real name.
Oh,
and
that's right.
He's one of the humans. He's one of the fat guys that they try splashing. No splashing. He's one of those guys that he has his wife there with him.
Actually, I remember John and hearing his voice and thinking,
yeah,
that's right.
That was funny. They gave him the name John. Yeah, that was WALL-E. This was the right after Toy Story 1. The next Pixar movie was A Bug's Life. Danielle, what was he in A Bug's Life? This one's easy because he's one of the main people, yeah.
I just watched it, too. Hang on, I might have wrote it down in my notes.
He's not just a little side character, he's actually one of the main guys.
I was gonna say, I definitely picked out his voice when I was watching it. Hold on, I will find it. Is he the flea?
Whoa, who is he?
The leader of the circus?
Right.
The circus
yeah,
group?
P.T. Flea.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a takeoff of P.T. Barnum, I'm guessing. And it's P.T. Flea. He's the one of Flaming Death. That was the name of the... Oh, guys, Flaming Death is a huge success. It's the same voice. He was the circus leader. Just a couple more. Jen, let's go to Finding Nemo. I'll admit, I haven't seen this one all the way through.
Okay. I own Finding Nemo. It's one of the few that I own. So I love it. He's not the teacher, I don't think. The stingray.
I thought that was him, but I don't think it is. It's something else that he is. No.
I don't know. Maybe one of the fish in the tank? I don't know. I don't remember.
He was the school of fish that makes different designs.
The what fish?
The school of fish.
He was the entire school of fish. How can he be the entire
school?
It was or the one fish who spoke for the school of fish.
Oh,
right.
Geez.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a hard one.
The hardest one, I think, and I won't even give this one because it's so hard, but The Incredibles.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't know. I had to look it up because I kept thinking, he's not in this. There's no way. And then I looked up and really? That's him at the very, very end when it's sort of after everything took place and the Underminer comes up. And she says, "Beware of the Underminer." That was him.
Yeah.
And they just sort of stuck him in there at the end. I don't know, it could be Incredibles 2, could be about that. But that was him at the very end.
Right.
Danielle, I'll give the last one, and he was the same in both movies. This one's not too hard, but Monsters, Inc. and Monsters U.
Yeah, I definitely know this one. He was the Yeti.
Yeah, he was the Abominable Snowman.
Yes.
Yeah. In Monsters, Inc., they actually go and find, he's like in the middle of the movie. Monsters U, when it's at the very end, when they're like, in
the postal?
Yeah, in the post office, when they're sort of just showing the montage of them going through all their jobs at Monsters, Inc., and he's like in there working at the post office with them. He has like one line. And so that was just, because I was waiting for that, Danielle. You remember we saw that together, and I was kept waiting for him, and then it came at the end. I was like, oh, they just stuck him in at the end, okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll just sort of give you the last couple.
Okay.
In Cars, he was Ham in Toy Story, P.T. Flea in A Bug's Life, the Abominable Snowman in Monsters, Inc., the School of Moonfish in Finding Nemo, the Underminer, Mac the Truck in Cars. I've never seen Cars.
Yeah, neither
Mustafa the waiter in Ratatouille. I've never seen Ratatouille. John in WALL-E. Tom the construction worker in Up. This is another one. Brave. Gordon the guard in Brave. I didn't really like Brave, so he's probably in that. I don't remember that very much.
Yeah.
So that's everything. So in every single Toy Story, in every single Pixar movie, be sure to listen for John Ratzenberger, who you'll know as the voice of Ham. Listen for his voice in every Pixar movie because they somehow slip it in there.
He's predicted for a future. Like, I'm on his Internet Movie Database page now, and he's
they don't
predicted
say what he
for
is,
Pixar's future movies, like The Good Dinosaur.
Yeah, on his Wikipedia it says TBA.
Yeah, it's not loading for me now, but there was another one. I think it's called Inside Out.
Just a quote from him. He said that his favorite of all the Pixar characters that he's done was P.T. Flea because, and this is him saying this, in real life I always get a kick out of those kinds of characters, people who just go into a rage for no explicable reason. He was always on edge, his blood pressure was always way over the top, and everything that he did was done in a panic state. So it was a lot of fun to play him. Yeah, P.T. Flea being...
He was funny, actually.
Yeah. Getting stuck on the wax paper and...
Okay, so we didn't have a question of the week last week since we had our Pixar draft. So now we'll move to Jen for this week's question of the week.
Okay, I was thinking about this, and I kind of have an obvious one, but an interesting one. I want to know if you could make one of your childhood toys come alive, what would it be? And I know we all have our favorite childhood toy that we just took everywhere, so like our Woody, so to speak. So what is your choice if you could bring one childhood toy to life? What would that be?
That's perfect.
Yes.
Perfect question for this movie. Very nice. Okay. So yeah, that was a good conversation. Sorry we had to speed it up. But it's kind of storming here, so
yeah, the power's
we're a little worried. The lightning's not as bad anymore for me. Have you seen any, Eric?
No, not yet, but it looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I think it might be done for me. I'm not sure. But yeah, that ends our episode. It's a really good episode discussing Toy Story. To connect with us and keep discussing Toy Story, you can visit our website, www.talkmagictome.com. That's the number 2. You can also connect with us on social media via Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. You can also listen to us via iTunes, SoundCloud, Podomatic, and all our past episodes are on YouTube. Then also, do not forget to rate and review us on iTunes, because, as you know, when you wish upon 5 stars, all of your dreams will come true.
All of them.
Literally every single one of them.
Yep. Most of which include being with me, but okay.
Yeah, you get to hang out with Eric.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's a win-win situation. Yeah. So, yeah, be sure to give us 5 stars, because that will help us. You know, we'll show up for other podcasts and related podcasts, so it will help spread the word. Next week's episode, we'll be discussing A Bug's Life, so be sure to tune in for that. And the following episode, we'll be taking a tiny break from Pixar. We're going to discuss Maleficent. So yeah, that ends our episode, I think. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, seriously, thank you. It means a lot to us that you guys listen every week. So from two of us that talk magic to me, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Prince Eric.
And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm going to start laughing.
Is your cat...
So much fur.
Oh my god.
Jen's cat's on her lap, and... yeah, she wants to be a part of the podcast.
Oh, good thing she's all the way in Pittsburgh, because she would probably be biting me right now.
Well, it sounds like Jen's cat is nice, so...
Oh,
won't bite anybody.
Yeah, but if you were here, my cat would bite you, Eric.
No, I know your cat would. Your cat has many times.
I went to pet her this morning, and she was so cute, and all of a sudden she has this look in her eye that you know she wants to bite you. So I have to back away.
Yeah.
But hey, I guess you can't win with every cat, but I do love
them. Oh yeah, exactly.
Is Eric? Eric? Hello?